so very much.
What is up, YouTube? We are back at it again with another deck profile. This time, it's another Nubatama one. I've already covered the budget variant, the Kachiri Congo. Really fun deck, really good. This time we'll be covering the Magatsu Storm variant, and Justin here will go in depth with his deck and talk about it a little bit. So go ahead.
Alright,
Justin.
so, you already know that Nubatama, or whoever doesn't know, Nubatama is a Protect clan. So obviously we're going to be running Protect markers, Protect gifts, all that nonsense. So for the zeros, we start off with Stuffed Dragon Mangatsu Win. Typical starter, on top, you just draw a card. That's all that is. For my trigger lineup, I run, typical, 4 draw, 4 heal, 8 crit. I just feel like, the deck benefits off more, like just having the more crits to me personally. I'll explain later on in the video, but this is just what my trigger lineup will be. So, put that away. For ones, I run 2 vanillas, which are the Kirihage. The only reason why I run this is because, 15 shield. Having that extra to the deck to really guard everything. So it's kind of like I'm running almost like more trigger guard units because all triggers are 15. So just having that addition, that extra 15 can help a long way, especially when it comes to playing the deck and guardian, because Protect clans, you want to protect yourself. So I run 2 vanillas, not too much, just enough to okay, if I see it, I'm like, okay, it's a good guard, because they won't expect it sometimes, when people play the deck. I run 4 Mangatsu Breath. His skill is when he's placed on the the rear guard. If I have a Mangatsu, I think it's a Vanguard with Mangatsu in his name on the board, he gets an additional +3 tower. So basically he becomes an 11k booster or attacker. His second skill is very useful. It's when at the end of the battle that it attacks or boosts, you Soul Blast 1, and then you discard 1 card from your hand, and you bounce your whole column of your own rear guards. So basically, it's kind of like if say you want to attack, and then you say, but I kind of like this column, and I want to keep it still for another play, or you need the extra guard. He's very useful because he just bounces himself back, and then the other card that you would use, your grade 2s or any other grade 1s you were using to attack, staple units that you would use to proc off your combos in this deck. He's just overall, he's very one of the other pieces where he helps out the VR, which I'll explain later. But yeah, he's just an 11k booster, and he allows him to bounce the whole column that he's in to back to your hand. So I run that. I run 4 Sakura Fubuki.
I can't pronounce that either.
I can't pronounce that either. So when he's placed, basically you get to discard a card and gets +3. However, if you have 1 or less face-up cards in a damage zone, you get the counter charge. He's pretty good. I mean, having counter charge in the deck is pretty good. And oh yeah, I forgot, you get from the +3, you also get a draw card. So you get to say there's a card you really want to see, like a combo piece, or just a better guard in your hand. It's pretty good. Just do I gotta do. But only problem is it only procs off if the draw and the counter charge is only if you have a 1 or less. It's typically if you know how to set it up, it's pretty easy to do.
You get the most out of it.
Yeah, you get the most out of it. You have to learn what next turn, okay, which effects can I proc off, and how can I utilize this better. So it's very you gotta think ahead mostly. So yeah, so you run for him, just counter charger, gets +3, and I get the draw card, and it's pretty good. And then lastly, I run 4 Fuki. Fuki's effect is when a card, if my opponent's card or my card gets bounced back to my hand or their hand, he gets +6. So basically, it's like a combo piece. It's obviously gonna be at a point where you're gonna keep it at a column where you're not gonna attack with first, and then you just use another column, or maybe say like if this grade 1 is behind the vanguard, you just bounce himself back, or like this column just bounces itself back somehow. Then these cards can become like what? I can't do math right now. What's 8 plus 6 again? 14. Yeah, it becomes 14 boosters or 14 attackers. It's just potential to hit. That's all I meant. In this kind of deck, against force, you kind of really do need the numbers to really get in there, because the whole point of this deck is to bounce back cards from your field back to your hand and call them back out, or utilize poking and hiding. I call it the poking and hiding tactic, where you bring him out, swing, and they disappear, so your opponent can mess with them. So he just becomes a 14 attack or booster, and then it's pretty good. Just very good card to combo with. So for grade 2s, I run 3 of Cinemasa. I only run 3, just personal preference, but if you do really need this card's actually super substantial. I guess you'd run 4, but for me I just run 3. Just because I really do want those 2 vanillas for shield. So, because there are other cards in the deck that do bounce them back themselves in the hand. So I'm not too trippy about it. But so the first skill is when he's placed, you choose one of your units, and they get +3. However, if that unit was a grade 3, you get to soul charge 1. So typically, what this card is basically you just always try to choose your vanguard, or choose a grade 3 rearguard so you can soul charge. And because the second skill is when at the end of the battle that he attacks, you get to soul blast 1 and draw 1. So basically you literally just call the card, choose a grade 3 soul charge, and you'll get this back to your hand. It's pretty good. He's another combo piece because he helps out the VR, which I'll get to later, so that's what he does. Gets +3 when he's choose a unit, gets +3. If it's a grade 3, you get this whole charge, and then at the end of the battle that it attacks, soul blast 1, bounce him back to your hand. So he's pretty good. Next I run obviously 4 Mangatsu Gale. He's basically like a love child between that 1 Mega Calling unit, the Mantis, and Berserk Dragon, but except it can be on anywhere. So what I mean by that is his skill is when he's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you counterblast 1, soul blast 1. You can draw a card. Just call, draw card, ride, draw card. For a counterblast soul blast, pretty good, and he gets +6. So it's like, oh shit, it's a 15 hitter. So it'll get in there, or it can make a good column. So it's pretty good. His second skill is really good. It's basically when at the end of the battle that it attacks, you can put this unit into your Vanguard Soul, and then you get to bounce another card back to your hand, which helps out the VR, which I will, repeat it myself again, that I'll explain. So he's pretty good. It's a staple 4 of. Because, hand advantage matters in this deck too, because you do need your pieces, and, guard helps. And then lastly, I run 4 Oboro Zakuda. So his effect is when he's placed, if you have 3 or more units, so your Vanguard 1 unit, and then just get to call this, you get a counterblast 1, gets +6, and if you have 1 or less cards in your damage, you get to countercharge 1. It's pretty good. It's like the other card, just know when to do it, or if you want to force it, go ahead, because then you could just call another grade 2 of it, or call the grade 1, and you just countercharge. It just gets power. It's really good. And the fact that I'm allowed to have countercharge, which is pretty good, and I get power, so that's a big plus. So now we're gonna go to the main bread and butter of this deck, the grade 3. So the secondary grade 3 before the main I'll show you is I run Voidmaster. Voidmaster's effect is when he's placed on Vanguard Rearguard, he'll get +3,000 power, and my opponent cannot intercept, which is very annoying to my opponent, because I shut them off from potential 2 block like Force clans, or other Protect clans. I shut down 2 more blockers that's on their board. If it's Axel, whatever they have on their board that are grade 2s, I shut it down. They're not gonna intercept. I'm gonna make them guard from hand regardless. And its second skill is at the end of the battle, you can counterblast 1, and then you choose one of their units or your units, and you get to bounce them back to your hand. If I read that correctly, yeah, you get to bounce back in, and it helps out what I'm about to show you right here. So that's what it does. The main scary card of this deck is Covert Demonic Dragon Mangatsu Storm, the Ninja Boy. So his first skill is a inherent perfect guard. So what it does is basically when he gets attacked specifically by a Vanguard, you get to counterblast one, retire 2 of your own rear guards, and you just nullify the attack. So this is pretty useful, especially if you're playing against decks that have guard restrict, or if you're playing against for example like DP where you don't want to use too many PGs from your hand to whittle down, so you're like, okay, they swing with their Dayusha with big power crit, you just go bam, PG the first one with the skill, and then okay, now you can just PG and just 1 card from your hand, and then to stop the great Dayusha. And it does annoy your opponent sometimes because when they see a board they can't hurt and they see your counterblast, they know okay, this guy has access to a PG on the with just their Vanguard when my Vanguard attacks them, and it's pretty annoying. So having board present, this deck is about having board presence and some hand presence. So it's like a unison. It's supposed to you're supposed to make it synergize with each other. So you to have the ultimate offense and defense. And what I mean by offense is because its second skill is when a rear guard is bounced back to my hand. I Soul Blast a 3. I get to draw a card, and a superior call 3 more cards out from my hand, and they get +5. So basically, it's like playing Bermuda. Bounce cards back to your hand, call them back out. But this one just gives them power, and gives me more potential attack. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks, and this is a protect clan. It's pretty scary because not all protect clans are very known for having multiple attacks. It's either heavy protection or gimmicks to where it can mess with your opponent, making the front board rate. This deck is literally it wanted to be Axel, but it wanted to stay with protect. That's why I like the deck, because literally it's what I wanted. I want a deck that utilizes a good defense and a good offense. So then I like playing the Mangatsu Storm variant. I understand why people like running the Chikuri Congo deck. Just having the fact that you can just whittle down your opponent's hand and make them feel bad about playing the game. They can't guard or they can't really utilize plays anymore because because you just whittle down your hand. But why I prefer the Mangatsu Storm variant over that is that one is too readable sometimes, because they know if they see the Chikuri Congo and they know you have a Yatagarasu, they know what you're trying to go for. So the one counter to Yatagarasu is you just don't have a board, so they can't bounce the card back to your hand. So all they can really do is just poke you with big numbers from any other Nubatama card, and then Pokemon with no other Nubatama cards, and use Chikuri Congo to the neg one from your opponent's hand. This deck is it's more consistent where what place to go for it, and you just keep poking, because how you go about through your combos is if you read the cards the situation, what the situation to go for when you attack, and it's it's not always the same line. Imagine just a line, but then there'll be a few curves sticking on you, and then sometimes your opponent might not even expect that. So I run because this card literally makes the whole deck just a multi-attack fest, and I just really like it. So this is the reason why I like running the Mangatsu Storm variant. Yeah, that's my deck.
All right.